now, it's time for our panel on carbon neutral cities. Elspeta Klein will be joined by Rinat Guy, the Chief Innovation Officer for the Municipality of Tel Aviv, Anouk Legendre, architect and co-founder of XTU Architects, and Matthias Navarro, the founder and co-CEO of Redmond. And to all of you in the audience, please do join the conversation. Write your questions, either for the individual speakers or for the panel as a whole, in the question and answer box that you'll see on the right side of your screen. In the final 15 minutes of the panel, I'll be able to ask your questions to the panel. So, Rinat, let's start off with you. In the race to prevent the climate crisis, one of our most important and effective tools is innovation and thinking outside the box. How can innovation help?
Okay, thank you for having me. Innovation is about creating value by doing things differently, the ability to think differently and to act differently together. In order to be an innovative city, we realized that we needed a municipality that can drive innovation and stay connected to our citizens' needs. Tel Aviv made a strategic decision to empower the process of innovation, expand it, and create municipal platform to engage with as many people as possible. We all deal with the same challenges, but we have different ways of solving them. Environment and sustainability are on the top of our agenda. So I would like to share with you two examples, a systematic initiative, how to tackle urban challenges from different angles. We opened in the Tel Aviv municipality the first academic MBA program. It in Tel Aviv University, which brings together students, research, residents, and innovation ambassadors from the municipality to face together with urban challenges with the aim to improve the city and the quality of life for residents. The municipality presented the urban challenges, and together they come up with the innovative idea for the city. One of their challenge was reducing the urban heat island phenomena. Within the frame of the program of one semester, they learned, profiled, and researched, met with municipal mentors, where they reached insights that we have never thought before. The winning solution to place public fountains for entertainment and cooling for children and adults, surrounded by setting shaded with sustainable solar trees. We are doing the same with the high school students. We opened the social entrepreneurship major 5 units Bagrut. It's a Israeli matriculation, and it's really amazing to see how each group of young, fresh minds offer solution from completely different angle, and that we have never thought of alone. All of this demonstrate the concept of harnessing the potential of the entire ecosystem. In other words, social innovation. Not only to improve the city and the quality of life for residents, but we foster a spirit of cooperation as a community by empowering the human fabric. This in turn will result in cohesive, resilient community. There is a great gain. Thank you.
Thank you. So Anouk, let's come to you now. We saw from COVID-19 that those who had second houses outside of London, Paris, New York, fled the city. When you look at this as an architect, why is that?
C'est arrivé parce que les villes sont devenues insupportables. on a vu pendant l'épisode du Covid que, en fait, une fois que les humains sont partis, on a du bitume, des murs, un endroit sec, pas de nature. On a eu de la chance qu'il fasse pas trop chaud, mais ça aurait été en été, ça aurait été insupportable de chaleur, etc. Et pas d'endroit pour se poser non plus. Une fois qu'on a enlevé les espaces marchands, les cafés, les restaurants, on peut pas se poser, on peut juste bouger. Et finalement, on s'aperçoit que les villes, depuis un siècle dans le monde de la civilisation du pétrole, finalement, sont pensées en termes d'ingénierie comme des espaces de pure mobilité. Ok, on assure les flux, tout ça, mais finalement, c'est pas accueillant, c'est pas confortable, on peut pas y rester. En général, c'est plein de bruit et difficilement respirable. Et en été, il fait trop chaud à cause de l'îlot de chaleur. Donc voilà, ça a montré ça et c'est pour ça que les gens sont partis. Mais c'est aussi pour ça que les gens partent tous les week-ends ou pendant les vacances parce que la ville est irrespirable. Et dans un monde de l'après-pétrole, dans un monde écologique et bas carbone, il faudrait aller vers des voies plus locales, où on pourrait trouver sur place tout ce qu'on va chercher d'habitude dehors. Quand on se déplace, quand on prend sa voiture, le train, l'avion, on a un mode de vie qui dépense beaucoup de carbone et ça, c'est pas bon pour la planète. Donc, la question, c'est de savoir comment concilier densité urbaine et transport, parce qu'il faut garder la densité urbaine si on veut éviter l'étalement urbain et préserver les terres agricoles. Et pour ça, il faut trouver dans la ville plus d'espace pour les gens, il faut étendre le logement, il faut déminéraliser la ville, il faut ramener le végétal et la nature dans la ville, il faut trouver des lieux d'appropriation pour les urbains, pour qu'ils fassent des choses ensemble en dehors du secteur marchand. Parce qu'évidemment, leurs logements sont trop petits, donc c'est pour ça qu'ils ont besoin d'espaces plus grands.
So let's now come to Matthias. And Matthias, to make change, we need to be able to measure. What are the main criteria that you believe are important to achieve this goal of low carbon cities?
Hi, Edie. Thanks for your question. Listen, there is a lot to say on this subject, but trying to group them by major themes, I would say that the low carbon city is dense, green, and designed for pedestrians. To start, the first criterion, above all, is density, which doesn't mean a big city. Density because urban sprawl consumes the precious farming land located on the outskirts of cities. Urban sprawl keeps residents away from their work and services and shops, often forcing them to use their cars every day since there is no development of public transport. And urban sprawl prevents urban centers from being able to grow and therefore from living properly. So you have to overturn the system and make soil non-buildability the principle and buildability the exception. And in these densities, we face the problem of managing existing buildings, which are often thermal sieves that need thermal isolation works. 2, the new construction, which must be oriented toward techniques such as wood, stone, or earth, which are low carbon when produced locally. The construction industry is the largest consumer of non-renewable raw material in France and in Europe. In this case, sand, which is the most consumed natural resource in the world. And 3, finally, a word on them, which is as far as possible should be prohibited. Transfer rather than demolish, this represents considerable potential for reducing CO2 emissions. The construction sector is also the largest producer of waste in France and in Europe. In France, this represents 230 million tons, 5 times more than household waste. Of course, a large part of this waste is beginning to be recycled, but the best waste is always that which is not produced. The second criterion is that the low-carbon city is also a green city. While trying to preserve the farming land around cities by shaping by stopping urban sprawl, we must go further by bringing back as much green space as possible in the city. We need it to fight against the heat islands that will be felt more and more strongly in the future. We need it for a less harsh urban experience, and we just need it to live better. So, let's manage all green spaces in the city in an ecological way, including stadiums, sports grounds, and cemeteries. Existing urban forests must be made more accessible and less anxiety-provoking. Let's build new big green spaces. Close streets to traffic to develop new green areas. Let's develop the garden streets by taking advantage of each unnecessary parking space to make the bitumen disappear and plant trees there. Impose common green spaces in each new building on their roof with in particular form of urban farming. We speak here of the famous resource building. Quite simply, let's turn green everything we can turn green by encouraging eatable nature in the city. And finally, the third criterion is the low carbon city is also a city free of cars as the dominant species in public space. Today in town, the car is at the top of the food chain. The public space is entirely dedicated to it, and pedestrians and cyclists are invited, but on conditions. Pedestrians are literally parked when they exist on sidewalks too small to walk with a stroller. Cyclists are in danger when they circulate for lack of cycle paths. Who in the city imagines letting his child ride his bike independently rather than on his own luggage rack? No one today. Finally, cars circulate everywhere. They circulate around the clock. They want to be able to park everywhere. The result is really simple. Air pollution kills 50,000 a year only in France. Noise pollution is the source of much stress in the city, and cars are also a danger. The logic must be reversed. The entire public space must be dedicated to active mobility and public transport. The car is a guest and only under conditions. Only the main arteries must remain open to conventional traffic in order to ensure good irrigation of the city. All districts must provide pedestrian bikes and buses with control of the whole public space. We just need space to live properly in the city. And to finish, I would say that each of the parking spaces in town constitutes a unique opportunity to develop new uses. Here, an enlarged terrace for restaurants. There, a space for 10 bikes. And there again, after having torn off the bitumen, the opportunity to plant trees in the ground.
Matthias, so much of what you were saying there, I'm fascinated with. The best waste is that which is never produced. And I love the idea of urban forests and thinking about who we want to put at the top of the food chain. Definitely not the cars, and I would argue that the cyclists. So let's come back to you in just a moment. Let's get another question to Rinat. So in recent years, Tel Aviv has emerged as one of the world's leaders in technology and innovation, and it's been named Startup City of the Startup Nation. So what startups does the municipality support, and tell me why?
Tel Aviv is known as the city with the highest density of startups in the world per capita or per square mile. There are 2,000 startups companies at any given moment. Many startups cannot gain government support. They are not mature or big enough. The bureaucracy to gain funding is too complicated, time-consuming, and too expensive for seed startup. The Municipality of Tel Aviv has a significant role in supporting those startups, and more specifically, startups dealing in climate change and quality of life related initiative. Every 2 weeks, we have the Startups Committee from the municipality, and we meet startups to understand their needs and help them where possible, from providing them with municipal data, access to municipal expert, and of course aid with a tax benefit. Last week we present the challenge, zero buried waste, reducing waste and recycling. So we launched a Smart City Lab. It's like a mini city called the City Zone. Startups can test, run a proof of concept, their solution. The city is adopting some really effective solution. And I think every one of us will benefit from leading a sustainable lifestyle. I believe that in this important forum, we should understand how we can all contribute to sustainable change together as a society and why it is so important to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rinat. So, Anouk, cities are carbon intensive, making them less livable, less healthy, as you've been saying. So how can we plan and design low carbon cities?
Oui, en fait, excusez-moi. Comment concevoir des villes bas carbone en réinterrogeant systématiquement tout le corps de la ville, c'est-à-dire les rues, le sol, la verticalité et les toits. Les rues, par exemple, on les imagine comme on les connaît ici, des rues minérales dominées par les voitures, mais est-ce qu'on peut revenir en arrière sur l'image précédente? Mais on peut les imaginer autrement. Elles pourraient être appropriables. On pourrait faire le tri des usages dans la ville. Certaines rues sont passantes, elles sont commerçantes, très bien, mais d'autres pourraient être des rues domestiques, comme au Japon ici, ou en Hollande, où finalement les habitants peuvent conquérir une partie de la rue, les côtés. On peut passer au milieu, mais en fait on voit la participation des gens, et avec eux, entre leurs mains, la nature réapparaît. Image suivante. Ici, on a regardé sur Paris comment on pouvait faire ce tri des rues dans la ville, comment on pouvait rendre plus végétal, renaturaliser certaines rues en suivant le cours de l'eau. Il y a des endroits où l'eau passe plus facilement et autour de l'eau va se développer la biodiversité. Et donc, si on faisait ce tri des rues passantes et des rues plus domestiques, et ben finalement, on pourrait avoir une ville plus revégétalisée avec des espaces appropriables pour la vie sociale, pour les habitants, sans passer par le secteur marchand. Image suivante. Et on pourrait avoir un effet iconique de ça dans les sites les plus connus de Paris, comme ici, au milieu de la Seine. On pourrait renaturaliser les bords de la Seine au lieu d'en faire quelque chose d'entièrement minéral. Image suivante. Donc ici la même chose. Ça montrerait que finalement la nature peut rentrer dans la ville et apporter quelque chose au bonheur des habitants. Image suivante. Ensuite, on peut interroger le végétal, la possibilité de mettre du végétal et de transformer la verticalité de la ville, c'est-à-dire les murs, les hauteurs. On peut créer des façades plus végétales. Bien sûr, on peut aussi inventer ou réutiliser des outils très connus, comme image suivante, la jardinière, par exemple, continue, que vous voyez ici à droite. Voilà, c'est un système simple qu'on voit partout. On peut construire une petite forêt de saules comme ça sur le toit de la ville, et autour de ça, il y a toute une vie sauvage qui vient s'organiser avec des oiseaux, des insectes, etc. Et finalement, si on a plusieurs événements comme ça dans la ville, sur la verticalité de la ville, eh ben, on organise un petit écosystème. Image suivante. Ça peut se mixer avec des terrasses. Et finalement, en fait, tout au long de la vie peut réinvestir la ville à travers le végétal, de façon à en faire quelque chose de plus vivant et moins minéral. Et finalement, la déminéralisation de la ville, c'est un enjeu fort pour demain, à la fois pour l'infiltration de l'eau, pour la lutte contre l'îlot de chaleur. Si on est moins minéral au sol et sur les hauteurs, eh bien, on aura moins chaud. Et d'où l'importance de mettre du végétal. Image suivante. Voilà, on peut réinventer des balcons qui se font jardinières en même temps. Image suivante. Et lorsqu'on vit à l'intérieur, eh ben, on vit comme à l'intérieur d'une forêt. Image suivante. Voilà, avec ça, donc, on fait des écosystèmes qui sont à la fois bien pour l'îlot de chaleur, mais aussi pour d'autres choses. Par exemple, ici, on a utilisé ces fameuses jardinières pour nettoyer les eaux grises du bâtiment. Donc, ça réduit les réseaux de la ville, ça permet de recycler sur place, ça permet de ramener de la fraîcheur dans des endroits qui sont secs. Ce projet que vous voyez ici se trouve à La Réunion, dans un endroit très sec. Et bien, grâce à ça, si on fait ça sur tout le quartier, eh bien, on va changer le climat en utilisant les eaux sales du bâtiment, finalement. Image suivante. On peut aussi rendre la ville productive afin qu'elle puisse participer à ce dont elle a besoin pour son alimentation. Par exemple, on peut créer des façades avec des microalgues qui poussent dans les façades. Et à l'intérieur des façades, on va pouvoir cultiver des protéines végétales qui serviront à notre alimentation. Image suivante. Voilà, donc ça peut transformer l'aspect des immeubles de bureaux ou de logements. Image suivante. Et enfin, il y a la question des toits. Le vrai transformation de la ville qu'il va y avoir normalement dans les décennies à venir, ça va être la conquête des toits. Pourquoi ? Parce que jusqu'à présent, on a travaillé à faire des expériences pour des toits végétaux cultivés, donc des startups d'agriculture urbaine qui investissaient les toits, c'est très bien. Mais néanmoins, ça ne suffira pas à assurer l'alimentation, bien sûr. Mais le principal usage qu'on va avoir des toits, ça va être de donner les toits aux habitants. Il faut que les habitants réinvestissent cet espace de la ville. C'est comme un deuxième espace sur le toit de la ville. Et comme ça, ils auront des espaces intermédiaires où ils pourront faire des choses ensemble. Image suivante. Ici, par exemple, dans ce projet à Lyon, on a plusieurs immeubles qui sont reliés par des passerelles. Et donc, les habitants peuvent circuler d'un toit à l'autre. Ils ont l'expérience du ciel. Ils peuvent faire des choses ensemble. Il y a des espaces prévus pour bricoler, pour faire du jardinage. Et ça permet de préserver des espaces ensauvagés au sol. Et ça permet surtout aux habitants en toute sécurité de se rencontrer, de sortir de leur appartement, qui de toute façon, les appartements sont trop petits aujourd'hui, donc il faut vraiment des espaces extérieurs supplémentaires pour qu'ils puissent s'étendre. Et ça permet aussi d'avoir une surface végétale supplémentaire qui va permettre de lutter à nouveau contre l'îlot de chaleur. Image suivante. Et donc, ils peuvent cultiver, image suivante, ils peuvent aussi participer au développement de la biodiversité. Et surtout, image suivante, ils peuvent retrouver le ciel et retrouver l'horizon. Image suivante. Voilà. Donc, retrouver l'horizon, c'est important parce que finalement, au cours du dernier siècle, les habitants ont été enfermés dans les villes, comme ils ont été enfermés pendant la période Covid. Mais en fait, on l'a remarqué pendant la période Covid, mais tout le temps, on est enfermé. Et donc, finalement, on voit plus l'horizon. Et c'est pour ça qu'on a besoin de quitter les villes. Et retrouver l'horizon à travers les toits, c'est aussi retrouver l'expérience du plein air. Et c'est retrouver une dimension de la vie qu'on avait perdue. Merci.
Thank you, Anouk. I love all those ideas that you were speaking about there. We'll come back to those in just a moment. Questions to you and to Matthias. I want to bring Alsbeta back in here because we've been talking about new buildings and ways to green our cities. But we don't want to forget about one of the forgotten children of climate solutions, which is energy efficiency. So what can be done in buildings to make them more energy efficient?
Thank you, Edie. So it was beautiful to see all these pictures that Anouk just presented to us and what can be achieved in a new construction. But we have a live example of what happens when we don't do it right in the first place, and that is the whole rebuild of Eastern Europe over the past 20 years. When you don't build it in an energy efficient way in the first place, you have to rebuild it later. And the savings that you can get from just insulating the building, the savings that you can get just putting a proper windows on the structures, and with architects on this panel, I'm sure they know more about it than I do. You can make a big difference. So if we can't build it right in the first place, build green as we start, the second best step is to go and rebuild it in an energy efficient manner and introducing as much greenery as we have seen from Anouk in the pictures just a moment ago. And this is something that would make a huge difference in energy footprint of buildings and therefore energy footprint of cities. Thank you, Edie.
And why do you think, Alzbeta, that investors should invest in green buildings rather than other real estate?
Well, aside from them being beautiful, as we have seen from Anouk, those structures are truly inspiring and inspirational. But as I mentioned earlier today, green buildings are better value for investors than quote unquote brown buildings. And they will hold value better. And then if you're looking at it from a perspective where we are today, which is COVID-19 and very stressed balance sheets of governments, very stressed finances of individuals, saving money on utilities is going to be a big deal. So it's a win-win for everyone. This real estate performs better as an investment. This real estate does better as a place where folks live. And this investment performs better for everyone around. So it's a win, and it's a virtuous cycle of reinforcement of what a properly constructed building and properly financed building can bring for the carbon footprint of cities.
So greening the facades, greening the Seine, even as we saw from those pictures there, changing the ecosystem of the city. And in fact, no one wants a heat island. Let's come back to Matthias for this idea of urban forests. So Matthias, what are the obstacles and challenges we face in developing the low carbon city?
Only a very bold response to the crisis will get us somewhere. So the different public authorities, local or not, must regulate. All private initiatives are good to take and go in the right direction, but there is a question of mass and a question of reason. On this subject, it is as if a part of our brain continues to look only at the indicators that are going well, thus allowing to ignore a little bit more reality as it begins to present itself. So let's regulate on urban sprawl. Cities can make land unbuildable. Regulate faster and stronger on the obligation to build low carbon. For instance, by taxing this type of construction less, or by granting them additional constructability. And regulate on the obligation to create green spaces. The construction market will not regulate itself and without political will. Yesterday's practices will always be easier to apply than tomorrow's. And finally, second point relating to the challenges before us. I think we cannot envisage a low-carbon city without really tackling the subject of inequality. There should be a world conference dedicated to this one subject. And so I will not get into a long plea. But you have to be aware that urban planning has immense social repercussions. We have known that inequalities have been linked with urban organizations for at least 2,500 years. Plato, in the Republic book, wrote that every state, he means cities, every state contains two that are at war, one composed of the rich and the other of the poor. So we do not discover anything by talking about inequalities, and it is not something we will change overnight. I even tend to think that inequalities will never go away, but that obliges us all the more to act to limit, to control these inequalities, failing to make them disappear. There is a lot to do on this subject, but as a real estate professional, my immediate subject is that affordable housing must be built in neighborhoods where, for a very long time, no diversity has been visioned, in neighborhoods where jobs, services, shops, and museums are accumulating. There is no responsible plan for climate change that doesn't begin with a discussion about how to change the urban landscape so that people can live closer to work. In my opinion, it is also one of the conditions for the success of a low-carbon city.
So what's fascinating is that it's not just Paris, not just London, not just, in fact, Europe in general that's thinking about the low-carbon cities, but Rinat representing Tel Aviv, all part of C40. I wonder if you could tell me a little bit more about why C40 is important. Beyond just a network of connected cities with a low carbon goal, what difference does it make?
Okay, Tel Aviv joined the C40 on 2017. It's very important to tackle climate change and together all the ecosystem I believe that if we want to maintain our position as smart cities, startup cities, facing with the urban challenges, the crisis, so we have to cooperate with others, bringing a different culture to the brainstorm. And together we all can contribute and success. And it's very important to all of us.
So a question from the audience now for all of the panelists. So from Marco Caputo in France. My experience is that the different stakeholders in the real estate industry don't always have the same timescale. And therefore, it's difficult to align interests between developers, builders, owners, and the final building users. So if we can't provide a substantial difference in investment returns, the alternative to get things done in a greener way is legal constraints. What are the views of the panel on this issue? So Matthias, do you want to kick us off?
Yes, as I said, it is really important for the authorities to regulate. In my opinion, we will not go as fast as we need if we do not. So I am totally agree that local authorities, governments, cities must regulate on every point of the development chain of a building, of the green buildings.
Anouk, anything to add from your perspective?
Bien sûr, on peut réglementer. C'est toujours bien de réglementer un peu, mais pas trop quand même. Je pense que si on veut que la ville garde sa valeur, il faut en changer les usages. Et en fait, ça va venir des usagers, des habitants. Après l'épisode qu'on vient de vivre, les gens vont avoir envie de quitter la ville. Ceux qui sont partis ont envie de rester à la campagne, etc. Donc il y a un vrai enjeu de valeur maintenant. Et il faut savoir proposer, et c'est un enjeu qui vaut pour les promoteurs comme pour les architectes, et comme pour les villes, il faut savoir proposer quelque chose vraiment d'agréable, de confortable, qui soit vraiment différent de ce qu'on a eu jusqu'à présent. On ne peut pas continuer sur la même ligne. Non seulement on consommait de trop, mais en plus tout était basé sur la mobilité, et justement la maladie qu'on vient de voir, c'est une maladie de la mobilité. Et en même temps, c'est aussi la mobilité qui faisait qu'on consommait trop. Donc en fait, il faut arriver à trouver ce nouveau chemin qui va permettre aux villes de garder leur valeur. Et c'est pour ça qu'on a besoin de faire des bâtiments verts, mais aussi des villes vertes, aussi des urbanismes verts, et aussi de reconsidérer la ville existante. Parce que si les villes existantes et les métropoles, les grandes métropoles perdent leur attractivité, ben ça va être difficile. Donc il faut s'atteler à la fois au neuf, ça c'est ce qu'on fait toujours, c'est le plus facile, mais aussi à l'existant.
So, a question from the audience for Rinat. When a city is planning to become a low carbon city, how do you get residents, businesses, and property owners all on board?
Okay. Today, it is clearly understand that a city cannot become a smart city without its residents. The residents need to participate in the process of their future, and that for the city. They have to be responsibility. So we have to engage with the citizens and present our challenges and let them come up with the solution with all of us, with the employees and with the startups and with the students, and all of us together can face the carbon, the urban challenges, and together we'll do it.
So, a question from the audience for Elsbeta. What are the IFC's major ongoing projects that improve environmental compliance?
We are working in a number of areas to do that, but the one that pertains to the topic here, housing and green buildings, are numerous projects in affordable housing in emerging markets. And we have active presence in many markets. We have program in South Africa, in Ghana, Indonesia, Philippines, and in Latin America, in Colombia and Peru, where we are funding affordable housing. That's a first step. But on top of it, we are working with local groups of developers, local association of developers, so that they are aware of how green and then build better. And then a next level is that we are working with financial institutions, with banks, for example, in Colombia, with Bancolombia, Banco da Vivienda, where they actually set up green mortgages for green buildings so that financing can be a little bit cheaper for the developers. And the very recent program, the very next level, is to start with educating of architects and engineers on how to build green. And we feel that if we catch them at the very young age to learn in architecture school or in engineering school how to build green, we will have a whole generation of architects and developers who are going to be building green for many years to come.
Thank you. So, a final question for Matthias from the audience. You spoke about how density was really important, yet density is also a problem that we've seen during COVID-19 and, in fact, any virus spreading in general. So how do you hold those two issues at the same time?
It is not density that is causing the spread of the virus in cities, especially in New York City. The proof is that the hard-hit and dense cities like Seoul in Korea deploy less than a dozen deaths. The key factor is the spread of the virus COVID-19 as preparation and early action and socioeconomics. And we must not confuse density and overcrowding, which bring us back to the subject of inequalities I spoke earlier. So we must encourage density, but we must fight overcrowding.
Thank you. Well, I could speak about this all day, but it is time now for our next session. Thank you very much to all of the distinguished panelists. And please, for the audience, give them a virtual round of applause to Rinat, to Elsbeta, to Anouk, and to Matthias. Thank you so much.